There's a lot of excitement around the game this week, with it being the homecoming week and fireworks after the game. I just hope we have some positive fireworks during the game. Their record is not very good, but if you look at comparative scores and all that, you notice that all their games have been fairly close. They've had chances to win every single one of them. Their yardage and percentage of completion and touchdown passes and all that, they're going to throw it 40 or 50 times. They've got a young quarterback that is hot and cold. When he's hot, he's unbelievable. They got a couple good receivers that catch the ball well. They've got a couple running backs. One of them's the older brother of a guy on our team that's 6'2", 254, gained 130 yards last week on the ground. So it will be a challenge, and hopefully we're up for the challenge and we can get back on the winning ways.
Can you talk about the advantage you guys will have, playing at home in front of a big, nearly sold-out crowd for the Sky Show?
Is it going to be sold out?
Well, it said, I think the notes I looked at said 50,000 is what you guys have averaged for these games over the past 6 years, something like that.
I hope there's that many and more. No, I think every team has an advantage when they play at home. And it's more of an advantage if you have a large crowd that is supportive, because there's always times during a game where your team goes flat or things aren't going your way, and a positive, energetic crowd in your favor always gets you over those humps. That's why more home teams win every weekend. More home teams win than lose. So hopefully that's the way it'll be.
What have you thought of the crowds this year, Rocky, at your games?
I was really happy that the last home game we had a really good crowd without a lot of special promotions or anything else. I think we're a pretty fun team to watch, and obviously I don't know what the situation was why we got that good a crowd, but maybe some other people think we are too. And hopefully that's a positive direction that we're going in, that'll become more common than it has been in the past.
What do you guys need to do better this week that you didn't do last week?
A lot of things. We cannot turn the ball over. In the 4 years I've been the head coach, every time we turn the ball over more than the other team, I think our percentages of winning has gone down dramatically. When we're on the positive side of the turnover battle, or we're even, I will bet that our winning percentage is pretty darn good. When we're negative in turnovers, our winning percentage is not worth a darn. I can't even remember, maybe 1 or 2 times we've won where they've taken the ball away from us more than we've taken it away from them. So number one, we got to have ball security. We can't give up the ball. Number two, we have to punt much, much better so that we have decent field position. I would say those are the 2 most glaring things, and they have a great weapon in their punter. I don't know who knows about him, but he leads the nation in punting average. Their team is 3rd in the nation in net punting. We just figured this out. Coach Toledo told me this. We've had in 8 games we've played, I think we've started inside the 5 3 times. In the 8 games they have played, the opponent has started inside the 5 18 times, which is the most I've ever heard about, ever. If you start inside the 5, your chances of scoring go down dramatically. I mean, there's very few people that score when they start with the ball inside the 5. So their punter is a big-time weapon for them.
So does that mean Lloyd Mills will need to, take some chances, make some, last-second decisions whether or not to?
No, we're not going to catch the ball inside the 10. Right. I mean, if he does, it's a mistake. Right. Now, I'm not sure where all those balls are hitting, but I'm guessing they're hitting inside the 10 if it's stopping inside the 5. Now, the real good punters have an ability to have that ball hit and go straight up. So, I mean, he's a big-time punter. He's up for all the awards. And people don't realize how important that is, field position. A lot of times they don't realize how important that is. Killed us last Saturday.
Well, Nevada started, what, 35-yard line on, I think, three 3 scoring drives, at least, and then obviously inside your own territory and the turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned our quarterback was sent out of him. You mentioned, he's calling cold in terms of visibility.
Well, I mean, they're going to throw it 40 or 50 times during the game. He's accurate with the football. He can get out. He doesn't really want to run with it, but he can get out of trouble. He gets out of trouble and extends the play and finds guys and gets them the ball. People have tried to blitz him. He gets the ball away quickly. He usually knows where to go with the ball, and the ball's usually on the money. And he's a young guy. He's going to get nothing but better. But he's gotten better as the season's gone along, too.
Barker, are you talking about Linehan? Or
Linehan.
Okay.
The other quarterback's not bad either. Now, he's a little bit more spread type guy. They run some zone read option with him. They run some quarterback draws with him. He is more of a spread quarterback, where Linehan's more of a – they're in the spread most of the time, but he runs mostly drop back. He will run it, but he doesn't want to. The other guy likes to run more.
What do you remember about losing to them in 2009?
I remember that we didn't play very well, and they played I don't know if it was one of their better games. They played good enough to beat us. And the biggest mistake everybody makes is to think that teams aren't good enough to beat you. And we all realize in the NFL right now and in college football, anybody can beat anybody, especially if they have a decent quarterback. And these guys have a really good young quarterback. So they're plenty good enough to beat us. I mean, you can go last weekend, I thought that Georgia was supposed to beat the heck out of Florida, and it was vice versa. I mean, every week you can see where underdog teams are beating teams that are heavily, heavily favored to win.
What about your own quarterback? We obviously have the injury to consider, which is a pretty big thing, but it doesn't seem like you're getting good enough play from Quinn when you lose games. What are your thoughts on where Quinn is and what he needs to do?
What Quinn needs to do, I think, might not be possible. I mean, he has to be able to throw the ball more accurately than he has been. And I think that's very, very difficult with his injury because he doesn't get to throw in practice very much. And in order to sharpen your skills at getting the ball where it's supposed to be, you got to throw a lot of balls in practice. And because of his injury, he's not able to do that. I think that what he did Saturday and the Saturday before that is enough for us to win if he can do that, if we don't turn the ball over. I mean, if we don't turn the ball over on fumbles, and he doesn't turn it over throwing interceptions, but if we don't turn the ball over on fumbles, that game would have been a completely different football game. I mean, we were running the ball really, really well in the first half. And if we'd have knocked those in on the 2 drives that we fumbled, if we'd have knocked those in for touchdowns, that would have been a completely different football game. And Quinn wouldn't have had to bring us from behind. And obviously on defense, we would have played a couple series differently on defense too if we were ahead. So I think it's mostly the turnovers that caused the game last week to go like it did.
Are you concerned that he's lost some confidence?
No, I don't think he's one of those guys that loses confidence. I mean, you'll get to talk to him, ask him if he's lost any. I don't think he's lost confidence. I think he knows he's playing with an injury. And I think he probably wishes he could throw more in practice, but then if he throws more in practice, he's not able to play in the game.
But no question in your mind at this point that he's the
Quinn gives us the best chance to win, yes. Mm-hmm.
Coach, you mentioned like playing from behind, and it's kind of hard for him. When you guys are behind, it's tough to win when you have a guy that's hurt like that. Is it possible to win from behind just running the ball, or in Nevada in particular, is it just a game that you had to,
No, you can win from behind running the football,
right,
as long as you're not more than a touchdown behind. If that game was close up till 6 minutes to go in the game. I mean, it was 16-14. We could have won the game by running the ball.
Yeah.
DJ's fumbles, when you guys look at those on film, do you feel like he's being careless with the ball? Do you think that it's bad luck? What do you...
I don't think he's being careless with the ball. I think obviously he could have been more secure with the ball. One of them was knocked out. One of them he lost as he was going down. The one he lost as he was going down, that's lack of ball security on his part. Everybody that carries the ball as much as he carries the ball is going to fumble once in a while. Just because they get hit from all sides at different angles, and there's sometimes that people hit the ball with their hand or their head, and it doesn't matter if you have it in the proper position or not, it comes out. As long as he understands the importance of securing the ball and he practices as such and does the drills that he does, he will fumble once in a while, and we have to overcome it.
Coach David Wallace has shown up a little bit at tight end. Is he just performing better in practice?
Yeah, he's getting better.
Yeah, in terms of blocking? Or?
He's doing better at everything. Blocking better, catching the ball better. It helps us on special, does a nice job on special teams. He's getting better. That's a good sign for the future. He's a big, talented guy.
Coach, how much,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Coach, how much do you enjoy the Sky Show? It's a tradition here in San Diego for many, many years. You look forward to that?
I enjoy the Sky Show because it brings more people to the game. By the time I get out of there, the Sky Show's over. I hear a lot of noise. I'm sure it's beautiful, but I don't, because of other things, I don't ever get out there to see it. But I enjoy it being at one of our home games because the crowd's much, much bigger. And they're usually there in a festive mood, which makes things better too.
You want them to show up more before halftime, though, right? You want them to get there.
I don't care when they get there, as long as they're there. And maybe it's better they come in the second half. Maybe that's when we need them more.
Coach, the performance at quarterback this year, has it at all altered or just changed your approach to recruiting a quarterback this year? Have you thought any differently in terms of
That's a good question, Ruben. It has not changed our ideas as of now, but that is being discussed weekly. Because of the difficulty of evaluating quarterbacks now to a pro system where most of the high schools are in the spread.
like what?
It's making it much more difficult to evaluate whether they can thrive in the pro system. The pros are having, the NFL's having the same problem, exactly the same problem. So the discussion is, how do we evaluate quarterbacks better, or do you join them and go to the spread? Because you can evaluate quarterbacks out of the spread if they're coming to a spread team.
So is that under consideration of Toledo?
That's it. That's all that is in discussion almost weekly.
But not this season. It's going to be if some.
You mean in the next 4 games? No, it won't happen in the next 4 games.
Implemented in the spring.
Well, if we decide to go that way, it could be. We haven't decided to go that way.
You wouldn't prefer it, though. You said you don't like it, kind of.
I would rather not be in the spread because I think there's huge advantages to be in the pro system.
Position.
I mean, a lot of things. I mean, we run the ball pretty well because people don't see that kind of offense anymore. It also plays to a good defense. I mean, and it keeps you in games sometimes when the other team has more talent, where the spread does not keep you in games when the other team has more talent. Usually you're out of it by halftime and you lose by 50, where our kind of offense gives us a chance to beat those people with better talent. So it's obviously it's a tough decision, but it's so hard to evaluate quarterbacks now that come from the spread, whether they can thrive in a pro system or not. It makes it a difficult decision.
Coach, what are some of the biggest challenges a kid that thrives at the spread offense, when you move them into the pro style offense? What are the biggest barriers that they face? What are those challenges?
Number one, the pro system is much more complicated. You have to pre-snap read coverages. You have to check plays. You are usually responsible for checking your own protections. You're checking running plays away from the strength of the defense. It is much, much more complicated. Usually in the spread, the running game is a zone read, so you either keep it yourself or hand it to another guy by what one guy does. That's all you have to do is read one guy. You don't have to read the whole rest of the defense. You read one guy. And then usually in the spread, you work half the field and not the whole field. Your progression goes 1, 2, I run it. Where a pro system goes 1, 2, 3, 4, dump it off. It is so much simpler for a quarterback. It's much easier for really good athletes to thrive at quarterback. Okay? But you can see it in the NFL. I mean, Cam Newton's about as good a quarterback there ever was in college, and he's just starting to be a decent pro quarterback, and it's his 3rd year because of the complications of the scheme.
Do Jake's skills, considering them for next season, play also into the decision?
No, I don't think so. That's the reason he supposedly came here, because he wants to be in the pro system, and he was leaving the spread system. Most of it was he wasn't playing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
it's not out of the question, though. You could see him running.
yeah, I mean, all our quarterbacks have come from some form of spread type offense. All the quarterbacks in our program right now. Now, that wasn't the case in the past. Lindley didn't come from that kind of deal, and Ryan Katz came from a pro system, you know. So, but there's a lot more spread quarterbacks out there nowadays because so many high schools are running the spread. There's very few high schools that run the pro system anymore. They're either wing T, and that means run it 99% of the time, or they're in the spread and they put the best athlete at quarterback because he gets to carry the ball and he throws it.
But you can make that change, like Rashad Penny, he was in the wing T, and you guys used him in like a sort of wing T look run.
Well, we did the other day.
Yeah.
In the game, he ran a reverse like a wing T play.
Yeah. So it's possible.
See, now on the other side of that, we have really good running backs. Okay? There's a reason we have really good running backs. Because running backs that want to be tailbacks and carry the ball 20 or 30 times a game, they don't want to be in the spread. Because a spread running back, he gets to carry the ball 10 or 12 times a game, and he doesn't even know if he's going to get it. And then he gets to catch a screen pass every once in a while. He doesn't get to run from 10 yards back there, you know, and have great big guys blocking for him and all that kind of stuff. So we have no trouble recruiting really good running backs because of our system. I think we recruit offensive linemen, too, because of that. Because they all want to play in the NFL, so they want to be in a system that lends itself to them being in the NFL. What it makes it hard to do is evaluate quarterbacks. Not that quarterbacks are opposed to being in our system. They really like coming to a system because they have NFL aspirations, too. They like it. But evaluating the ones that can thrive in our system is getting harder and harder and harder because so many of them are in the spread.
Rocky, sorry if this is super naive, but like the penny play on Saturday, we kind of almost look at it as a gimmick or a one-time a game play, reverse kind of the same way. Why not do that more? Why not incorporate that play a little bit more into an offense rather than a one-time a game thing? What's the
Well, the reason that play worked, and you got to give a coach's credit now here. We spent hours and hours and hours watching film and computer breakdowns and tendencies and all that kind of stuff. That play worked because they did not know who he was. Okay, and they didn't know he was going to get the ball. We ran a similar play later to Ezell Ruffin, and it got tackled for a -4 because they had done their homework. And they had set up their defense knowing that Ezell in that position runs that kind of play. Well, they didn't know who Rashad Penny was. So they had no preconceived idea of what kind of play was coming. And that's one of the reasons it worked. Now, he's a talented kid, but that's one of the reasons it worked.
But can't you catch them a little bit more often on being unsettled in a play like that?
I think our staff does a better job than most at doing things like that, because I think Bob Toledo is one of the masters at that. I mean, you saw one of them in the game that worked really well. That one worked because they didn't know who Rashad Penny was, and we pulled out the old fake screen, tight end block for the screen, and then tight end down the middle, and that one worked. Which they have not seen before. And we get guys running plays against us that we haven't seen before too. And sometimes we're lucky enough to stop it because they don't execute it very well. But it's not because we know it's coming. And sometimes we get burned by it because we don't anticipate it, we don't call the right defense, and it works really good because they execute it well. So we run as many of those type plays as anybody in the country does. Some of them work, some of them don't.
Anything else for Coach?
Just one more. Speaking of the NFL, what would you take of the Charger game on Sunday?
I didn't watch it, so I can't comment. I saw the score. That can happen in any game, college or pro. I keep hearing them say the NFL's a week-to-week league. Well, guess what? NCAA Division I football is a week-to-week league too.
Rocky, 8 games into the season, how would you say now that the underclassmen that are playing a lot, I mean, I'm sure it's a mixed bag, but in general, mixed. Rocky, would you say that they're performing better than you thought, about the same? What would you say?
No, I think they're, at this time in the season, I think they're not performing as well as I thought they would. But it's a mixed bag. We have some that are playing really, really, probably better than I anticipated. And then we have, it's probably 50-50. And then we have another half of them that I thought would be playing much better than they are.
Who would you say are the ones you're most pleased with?
I'm not saying that. They're too young to be put under the bus now.
Well, to put under the bus, even though they're playing well?
No, I don't want to. If I tell you the ones that are playing well, that automatically tells you the ones that aren't.
Malik and Trey were both in there, I think, for almost every play, if not every play. Mm-hmm. Is that a reflection of your depth or how they're playing?
It's a little of both. They're both playing very well, and then the backup to Trey got hurt. Right, so we didn't really have a backup. It would have been a guy playing another position that we would have had to slide over there to that position if something happened to Trey.